Afternoon, everyone. Bon après-midi à tous. Bienvenue au débat des candidats à la maire de Moncton pour les élections municipales de 10 mai. Welcome to the election debate for the mayor of Moncton for the May 10th municipal election. I am John Wishart, the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Moncton. And with me is Sylvain Montraille, who's our Director of Communications and Policy. Together, we will host and moderate today's 45-minute debate. The Chamber believes providing a platform for debate and discussion on key municipal issues is part of our mandate for the community. We are therefore pleased to present two mayoral debates today, this one with the two candidates in Moncton, to be followed by a debate with the two Riverview mayoral candidates. There is no race for mayor in Débat, and I believe the calmest person on today's Zoom call might be Yvon Lapierre, who I believe has joined us to watch his colleagues face off. Félicitations, Yvon, for another mandate. Today's debates will include opening statements, 6 questions prepared by the Chamber after reaching out to our members, followed by one-on-one debating, questions from our audience, and then closing statements. We invite you to pose a question using the chat function at any time, but please know we will not have time to pose every question. We will be providing the entire set of questions to each candidate for follow-up, and we have set aside, as I mentioned, 45 minutes for the debate. Pour nous expliquer les formats du débat d'aujourd'hui, je donne maintenant la parole à Sylvain.
Merci, John. Thank you, John. So the debate is quite simple. We have 2 minutes of opening remarks from each candidate today. We'll start with Don Arnold, Mayor Arnold. We'll start, and we'll reverse at the end for the closing statement. So basically, Mayor Arnold will, Eric Jingles will start, and Mayor Arnold will finish. But for each questions, what we'll have is just a quick question, and after that, answers from candidates. One of the candidates and the other candidates will be able to answer. So 1.5 minutes each and 1 minute debate after the two answers, just to basically have an idea of what the position and visions of our two candidates are on each questions. Other than that, I think it's there's some questions that at least we'll try to tackle in French as well, but feel free, of course, to answer in the language of your choice, but both questions will be bilingual in a way. So this way you'll be able to understand and answer that question. In terms of after the questions, we'll have a series of other questions that comes from the floor. So those questions have been received prior to the debate today. Some of them are on arts and culture. Depending on the format, we'll try to find a way of having 3 or 4 questions to be answered. We receive almost 20, so we'll try to tackle the most important one. The microphones will be at all time muted in terms of the participants, but feel free to use the chat function there once again to be able to answer us. So I'm going back actually, and je redonne la parole à John, bien sûr, pour commencer justement les présentations des candidats.
Thanks, Sylvain. Before I do the introductions, I want to mention we are partnering with Rogers TV on the debates today. You'll be able to watch these debates starting tonight on Rogers TV and also on their website. They will be replayed several times leading up to the May 10th vote. We will also post a recording of the debates on our chamber website, ccgm.ca, for free viewing starting tomorrow. Okay, now let's get to the fun part. I won't do a formal introduction of both candidates. I think by this point, they're both quite well known and they may refer to some of their accomplishments in their remarks. After a random draw, it's been determined that Don Arnold will deliver the first 2-minute opening statement. That will be followed by Eric Jingles. Don, the floor is now yours.
Merci beaucoup, John et Sylvain et toute l'équipe de la Chambre pour cette opportunité. C'est tellement important pour la démocratie. So I believe in this community and the incredible opportunities right now. We are the economic engine of the province, and we need strong, experienced leadership to keep this going. Because this kind of growth that we've seen, it doesn't just happen. Maclean's magazine just named Moncton as the 7th best community in the country out of more than 400 to live for remote work. And this really speaks to the opportunities right now. My experience, along with council making wise, long-term, strategic, sustainable decisions, is why Moncton is experiencing record-breaking growth, unheard of immigration, the highest building permits in our history, no tax increases, and we delivered the largest public infrastructure project in our history on time and on budget. We've invested $6 million in affordable housing. We've built the Centennial Bowl and the North End YMCA, all while banning plastic bags and booting. We need to be intentional about keeping this momentum going. This is about setting the tone that we are open for business, that we want to create the environments for success for all Monctonians. This last year has been tough on so many of us, and we have certainly seen more clearly some of the complex and interconnected challenges, but we have done the work to ensure that as a community, we are set up for success going forward. Je me présente à nouveau comme votre mairesse parce que je crois que nous devons poursuivre le travail que nous avons commencé ensemble pour améliorer la vie de tous les Monctoniens. Cela signifie que nous devons continuer à prendre des décisions en tant que ville qui ont un impact positif sur la santé, la richesse et le bonheur de chaque citoyen, aujourd'hui et à l'avenir. Ensemble, en collaboration et en partenariat avec tant de personnes, au cours des 5 dernières années, nous avons amélioré cette ville pour nos citoyens et ensemble, nous pouvons nous assurer que nous continuons. Ensemble, nous pouvons toujours aller de l'avant. Merci.
Thank you, Don. Now we turn things over to Eric Jingles for his opening 2-minute and 15-second opening statement, if you wish, Eric. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much to the Chamber for this opportunity. For me, sometimes Moncton feels like a tale of two cities. There are statements about record-breaking permits and projects being on time and on budget. However, many claims are actually the result of a global pandemic. So to take full credit for the positive trends, but blame the growing challenges like crime, homelessness, and childhood poverty on other government seems just a bit disingenuous. As for the largest capital project we've ever undertaken, the Avenir Centre, the reality is the fundraising is stalled. Other commitments are now threatened in the short term, meaning the taxpayers will be on the hook for perhaps millions of dollars. Now, this does not sound like unbudget to me. As mayor, I'd be more open and responsible with the taxpayers' money. I would not be giving partially forgivable loans to multinational companies who didn't even ask for them, while leaving our local businesses to struggle. Nor would I give the UFC $150,000 to lure a match while denying lesser asks from local frontline agencies dealing with our own people. Moncton is a great city with huge potential, but there are issues that need to be addressed. For example, according to Stats Canada and AreaVibes.com, since 2016, the crime rate in Moncton has risen by over 40%. A 2018 crime report gave Moncton a B+ rating, while Riverview and Dieppe got an A+. Downtown Moncton received a D rating, citing that violent crimes in the downtown area are 19% higher than the national average. If elected mayor, I will work to increase support for frontline agencies with other levels of government to make our city safe and enjoyable for everyone. I will work to keep schools in the center of their communities. I will increase funding for youth activities, including mental and physical health. And I will work to pause the building of the new RCMP station until we can best determine exactly what is required for full public safety for seniors, youth, and all residents and visitors to Moncton. I will work to bring Moncton's next rating to an A+, like that of our wonderful sister communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, it's time for questions. So I will turn the microphone over to Sylvain to lead off the series with the first question.
Thank you, John. The first question is for Eric. We'll start with Eric, and after that, Don Arnold, you can answer the same question. One issue that seems to be on everyone's minds leading into the election, and of course, in the past few years, is homelessness and downtown security. Are we doing enough to tackle this challenge? And what else should we do to improve the lives of the homeless and make downtown a safer place to work and visit? Eric?
That is a massive undertaking, And to say that someone can solve that is a bit of a stretch. It is something that's unfortunately a global issue with industrialized countries. There are cities who have had great successes in managing it, but all cultures and all places aren't the same. So all things aren't equally applicable to different areas. I think we need to spend a lot more money on the bottom side of things, like the lower level, when kids are younger, again, with youth mental health, with more programming for things like the Boys and Girls Club, so they can open up satellite offices, more things where there's youth mentorship to kind of help keep kids on the straight and narrow and on the right path. While at the same time, we kind of need to increase what needs to be the public safety side of things. And that's why I'm saying that I would want to pause the RCMP station. That is $46 million now and growing, which we don't know. They won't say how much it is at this point, but that is a lot of money that is making us rather house poor. And that money could be better spent perhaps on doing services that would help keep people off the street and help the officers who are responsible for fighting crime with drugs, prostitution, people slavery, all that sort of stuff could be better spent with people on the ground. So I think that we need to have a two-pronged approach. We need to support youth from the bottom, and we need to work from the top to help people get off the street and to transition to better places, and then to fight crime.
Thank you, Eric. Don Arnold, same questions. You have 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Merci pour la question, Sylvain. So this is my biggest preoccupation right now. It really keeps me up at night. I understand that people are feeling pain in our community and I have worries around this. But as we morph and grow from a town into a real urban center, these challenges will be with us. I speak with mayors right across this country every day, and they are having similar challenges. We are certainly not alone. However, we have looked at this with a great deal of attention, and that is why Moncton City Council has stepped up in a significant, unprecedented way to invest $6 million into Rising Tide to create an affordable housing initiative. Rising Tide, it will be will provide the wraparound services, and by us stepping up and putting $6 million in, we've now leveraged more than $15.3 million to take this on, because my commitment is over the next 4 years to get to functional zero homelessness. And this is attainable because we know that all roads are leading to having a home. Claudette Bradshaw, a very famous Monctonian, proved it definitively across this country with the at-home chez soi Housing First initiative. We know that Housing First is critical, and that's why we are committed to this, along with all the stakeholders in our community, to ensuring that we have affordable housing. I've also advocated long and hard for the Canada New Brunswick Housing Benefit. Very excited about that, and very excited about our social impact audit, which is about to be launched, which really follows the money so that we know how we are investing in our community to ensure that we can keep everyone safe and secure. And one last thing, community officers 24/7. I'm very excited about that. They will be, that's a big change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Arnold. We have 1 minute of debate on that question.
The last point, community officers 24/7, that's exciting news. Certainly in the last council, the question was why there was a 4-hour gap between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. and they asked to move people to their shifts so that that quiet period where most things happen would be covered. So this is new news that certainly hasn't come out yet to anybody. As far as the $6 million, that's a fantastic thing for Rising Tides. Dale Hicks and his group have done an amazing job in putting this together. It was kind of sad that it took as long as it took to get it, that he had to say, basically, this is the 11th hour, and if you guys don't approve this, I'm walking away, forget it, I don't need this hassle. So it really was push come to shove. It wasn't done willingly. It took a lot of struggle to get it there. And in terms of how the program is going to work, they're looking to get 165 people housed. Well, they've kind of rolled down that number because they realize that they need to be able to have more support services in ratio to the people that they're helping. But according to the Greater Moncton Homelessness Steering Committee,
we're gonna have to step in, Eric, so we have a little bit of time for Dawn. Go ahead, Dawn.
Thank you, John. We have a plan and it is attainable. I am tired of putting Band-Aids on things in our community. It is time for us to come up with a sustainable long-term solution. And Rising Tide is the first step in that. So in addition to our new 9 24/7 community safety officers who have their ears and eyes on the ground, we have recently employed 13 new RCMP members, and of them, there will be 6 bike patrols. Really excited about this. This is how we will change things. But I have thought long and hard about how the actions that we need to take from a policing perspective. And recently I was named recently in January to the Kodiak Regional Policing Authority, which is basically our police board. We need a situation table. We need to bring together all of the players so that they can work together with our RCMP. I think this is the missing piece in community policing in our community.
Thank you,
right
Dawn.
now. Okay, done. Thank you, John.
The next question also relates to crime, I think. And it's been mentioned a couple of times, and a lot of our questions related to the increasing crime in the community. As Eric mentioned, there are plans to develop a new Kodiak RCMP station headquarters on Albert Street. The last cost figure we had was 46 million. Should voters know the updated cost before the election? And is this a priority for Moncton in light of other municipal needs? Dawn, up to you first.
Thank you for the question, John. Yes, this is a priority for our community. We have known since before 2013 that the station that we have is not meeting the safety and security needs of our community. The $46 million is what has been approved. We have borrowing approval for that. We have stated continuously that the current project per our capital plan is set for 46 million. It will stay there until all appropriate due diligence is completed by the team over the next few months. It is not typical to share the engineering estimates prior to tender since this could impact bids. We want to ensure that we have the highest quality design drawings for this so that there are no cost overruns, so that it is done in the most efficient and best way possible. We have certainly learned this over the years. We've taken the best practice from building the stadium, for example. That allowed us to build the Avenir Center without any cost overruns. So we're using this kind of learning to do what's best for our community. We need to take due diligence on this sort of thing. Another thing for everyone to keep in mind is that Riverview and Dieppe will be paying 30% of this, 12% for Riverview, 18% for Dieppe. And we also, as a city, we own the current building. So the commercial value of that building will also help Moncton in our payments on this.
Thank you, Dawn. Eric, your response, minute 30.
Well, obviously, I have a very differing point of view in that they said at private council what the new number was. So I think if they can share that with council, I can't see why they can't share that to the public. Obviously, it leaves a lot of question marks in people's heads as to where they're going. So to me, that's a bit odd. In terms of the actual build itself, yes, we do need something new. I mean, that building has been the current one since the 70s, and sure, it needs an upgrade. But do we need that? At a meeting once that I was attending, they said, well, let's build it first, and then we'll figure out the needs afterwards, was the general idea. Well, to me, that's absolutely crazy. That's saying, well, build me a backyard gazebo, and we'll just kind of figure out what you want to have in it when we're done. Well, it's too late then. And once we're tied into that new building, from what I understand, that we are going to be adherents to the RCMP for 5 years. We're kind of locked into that. In terms of Riverview and Dieppe paying 30%, yes, that's great. It's 20 and 10%, but we are on the hook for that amount of money altogether. They'll be paying us rent, but we're the ones who are signing for that loan. Once we sign that loan, then our debt is going to go up to roughly $180 million. In 2016, according to the books, it was down to roughly $60 million. So we've almost doubled or potentially triple our debt, which is something that we just can't service. And this is why our reserves are so high. We have a reserve of $84 million. And a gentleman said to me this winter, he said, look, I just want to go out and walk my dog. And I asked the city just to plow through this little park just so that we can get out. We're all seniors. We all have dogs. We want to get out where we feel boxed in here with COVID. And the city says we can't afford it. Well,
Thanks,
we can't
Eric.
afford it.
Okay, we're going to take a minute for debate on this question, and we'll start off with Dawn.
Well, thank you very much. I would like to say that the debt charges will be paid by Riverview and Dieppe. They will be paying the same debt charges on their debt for this. As far as what we can do, though, let's talk about the future of policing. I think this last 14 months has certainly made a lot of people think about policing in a new way. Mental health court. St. John has one of those. I think that we need to keep advocating to get one of those in Moncton. I've been personally advocating since January for an increase in the mobile health crisis unit and the team coverage around that. We need to focus on veteran services as well. We're seeing a lot of issues with that in our community. And we need to lobby our provincial government for changes to our criminal justice system. Thank you.
Hey, Don. Eric, response?
I certainly would agree with the lobbying for most of those things, but I would say that we need to be a lot more proactive in our approach. We can't keep looking to the horizon to think that someone else is going to save us, because it's not going to happen. Now, Superintendent Critchlow said at a CPR meeting that the visits to the hospital on average for mental health call are 100 a month, with 3 hours for each visit. When they worked with a group from social services, it got down to 20 visits. That is a lot of police officer hours can be back on the street. When I asked, why can't you kind of readjust some of your budget so that you can hire your own person, I was told that's a Fredericton thing, not a Moncton thing. This type of attitude for me has to change, because if we can do the same thing better for the same money, why wouldn't you?
Okay, thanks, Eric. Sylvain, over to you for the next question.
The next question is about basically the population and the growth of population in Greater Moncton. So, la ville de Moncton mène au Canada en ce qui concerne la croissance de la population. Par contre, le manque de logements abordables pourrait freiner cette lancée alors que nous tentons d'attirer plus d'immigrants et de nouveaux Canadiens. Comment doit-on aborder ce besoin de plus de logements pour tous? Eric, you want me to translate that in English?
If you don't mind.
Please.
Okay. So Moncton is among the leaders in Canada for population growth, but the lack of affordable housing could put a stick in our spokes as we continue to attract immigrants and new Canadians to the city. How do we approach this issue in our region?
Affordable housing is a massive issue, much as like homelessness and everything else. I think that we need to work what I feel like in a big tent. We need to talk to people who are looking for affordable housing, and we need to talk to developers. We need to talk to frontline agencies to say, look, the end goal is to provide affordable housing. Now, how can we do that so developers can still make money? In talking to one developer, he said to me, look, why would I build something if I can get a lot more money for something else? So you need to do it for an altruistic reason. Otherwise, you can have to come up with a plan. But he did say, look, you know what? I wouldn't mind building one. I just don't want to have to manage it, because that takes a lot of work. So there are ways that we can do this, but we need to get the right people together to discuss, to say, here's the end goal. How can we do this so everybody wins, and to work on it quickly?
Thank you, Eric. Dawn, same questions, your answer. 1 minute.
Sure, thank you. What I have found in my discussions with developers, that the number one issue that they are facing is double taxation. And that's why I am so excited to be a member of the Provincial Advisory Committee on Local Governance Reform, because I think that this is a huge roadblock right now for developers in our community to be able to build affordable housing, because they do want to build it. They want to be part of the solution, but this double taxation makes it fairly prohibitive for them to do it. As a city, we have moved forward with some really great policies around this building permit and planning equivalent fee grant. We have an application prioritization policy. We're setting the scene for affordable housing to take place in our community. Of course, Rising Tide was a huge move in that direction. We're working on inclusionary zoning and variances. But again, this has to be done from a provincial perspective. It can't just be done one piecemeal by each community. We're looking into regulating Airbnbs. We're looking into rental property standards, exploring the creation of a tenant relation and protection policy. All of these things, we've gathered a lot of data and evidence to know what the situation truly is in our community, so that we can make the best decisions going forward. But I speak with mayors all over, and they're grappling with this. I mean, anyone who's read the national media lately, it's a lot more concerning in larger communities. So we all together will be working to find some. Sorry, I'm trying to tell the time.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
That's okay. Eric, I'm not sure if you want to go ahead with our ideas on that issue.
the programs that the city has in place are helpful for some things, for large builds. I know that for in other areas, the amount, from what I heard from developers, really doesn't make it that significant enough to make it that much of a difference. I think we need to look at it in a different way, and certainly as lobbying the different forms of government for help in this, because we're not alone. But it needs to be addressed a little more proactively, a little harder, with a little more heft, because if we just keep building shiny things, people are going to be pushed out the bottom, and then we're going to have big problems. So sometimes people say it's free enterprise, but nothing is free. It always comes at a cost, and sometimes this cost can just be too high.
Thank you, Eric. Don?
Thank you. Well, as I've said, I've fought long and hard for the Canada and New Brunswick housing benefit. This is going to help a lot of people in our community. Since 2017, we've had 2,098 new apartment units constructed in our community. There are cranes everywhere, and this is good. I'm very hopeful about the CMHC grants. I'm seeing some evidence that local developers are taking advantage of those. And we recently had a regional conversation with 150 different builders and developers that came together. And to better understand what some of their challenges are, we always are trying to keep the door open so that we can cut the red tape, work with those developers and investors in our community so that they can have success and get some of these affordable housing.
Thank you, Don. John, back to you for another question.
Yeah, I think, folks, that because of timing, we'll make this our last chamber question, and then we'll move to the audience questions because we want to save some time for them. So the next question, and Don, you'll have the first response. The province is in the midst of a local government reform process. What does Moncton need as an outcome in this remaking of local government, and what is at stake for us as a community?
Well, there is a lot. This is a complex issue, and I don't think anyone knows exactly where it's going to land. But the biggest thing for me, from my perspective, is tax reform. We need to remove the double taxation and implement tax fairness for all New Brunswickers. We need the pay for what you get to be in place. I'm proud to work with the 8 cities. I've done a lot of advocacy work with them. Moncton needs to be here for all our neighbors. The rest of the province is really counting on us to show leadership on this. I'm happy to work cooperatively with the province. We have an amazing opportunity right now. Actually, I think the stars are aligned in a way that they have never been aligned from a municipal regeneration perspective. And we need to take advantage of that right now. We have 654 elected municipal officers in New Brunswick. 654 for a population of 780,000. There are only 25 elected officials in the city of Toronto, and they have 2.7 million people. We know that 84% of the population lives within 50 kilometers of our cities. Our cities are absolutely critical for the future of our province. We are the economic generators, and we have to be successful. So I'm very, very dialed into the municipal reform and excited about what it means for the future of our province from a sustainability perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Eric, you have 1:30.
Thank you. I am thinking that the green paper that the province put out is very interesting. It's a wee bit nebulous. They aren't being very exact on things. So obviously there's a lot of room for discussion. It seems the short run of it is they say, look, we'll give you more money, but you're going to have to take over more responsibility. And for me, I think that's okay. I think that if we look at particularly youth mental health services, there's a young fella who I did a story with a couple of years ago, super little guy, gives all his birthday money to the burn camp for the firefighters burn camp. And he's struggling right now with mental health, and he's just 10. And he's got dark thoughts, and his mom is desperate, and she's saying, what can we do? It's going to take 2 years for someone to see him. 2 years. So if the province is saying to us, look, we'll give you more money, but you're going to have to take over some stuff. I think that we have the wherewithal within our own community to be able to get organized and to do these things. I think we need to be a lot more self-sufficient. And I think that this is a great opportunity to be able to do that, to be able to look at many different sectors to say, okay, what does everybody need? How can we make this work? Let's not have duplication of services, and let's see what pieces are missing and how we can do that. And then we can go to the province and say, look, this is our plan. This is what we can do, and try to move forward that way. Because I think if we can be far more self-sufficient, we can grow a lot more and with a lot more solid base.
Thank you, Eric. We have
Sure.
1 minute of open debate. Don, would you like to start?
I guess my first comment would be careful what you wish for. We need to make sure that we know what we're getting into with all of this. And that's why I'm so proud of our community taking leadership on a social impact audit, which is following the money, looking at where money is invested from a mental health, justice, health perspective to know where it's being invested and are we getting the return on that we need? So before we say to the province, oh yes, we'll take on your responsibilities, I think we need to know what we're getting ourselves into. I think it's a bit naive to just say, yes, we'll do it. Although I do believe in breaking down the barriers and working together in a collaborative form. I'm a big, big fan of collaboration and partnerships. That is the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Eric, 30 seconds.
Well, I never said that we would just jump in and take it. I said that we need to discuss with people what they need first. Perhaps you missed that first part of my statement. I think that we are dealing with a lot of issues and challenges. And that's part of the reason why I'm running, is that I just don't see people are grappling with this strong enough. And it's not a pretty thing. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, but it needs to be done because we can see what's happening around the city and it's not getting any better. It's not going to get any easier. So we have to deal with it. And we have to deal with it now. If this provides us with an opportunity to do that, whether it be a hard wrestle or not, it's something that we need to do.
Thanks, Eric.
And Eric, and John will, I'll get back to you. You'll have the first question, but for now, I thank you for those questions. We're going to go right away to questions submitted by members of the chamber and also residents of Greater Moncton and Moncton in general. So first question, John, I think on your side is from Ronald McGee.
Yes. Ronald asks, says Moncton has a serious lack of affordable housing throughout the city, maybe especially in the downtown core. What are your plans to encourage developers to build more apartments in the area that can be rented and afforded by all citizens? So we'll go to Dawn for the first response.
Thanks, John. I think we've sort of covered off on that a little bit, but definitely the one-stop shop from our developers so that they can, achieve success. But the double taxation, I come back to that. That seems to be the largest barrier for any developer to build affordable housing. Is that I've talked about the different, inclusionary zonings that we're considering, the variances, our different incentives for affordable housing. Looking at Airbnbs, we understand that is an issue in our community right now, that Airbnbs are taking up some of the affordable housing in our community. Exploring all sorts of different tenancy acts and looking at what we can do to incentivize affordable housing in our community.
Okay. Eric, you have 1 minute.
Incentivizing affordable housing is going to be a tricky thing because how much are people going to need? Certainly the double taxation has been a huge stumbling block, and it'd be nice to get rid of that. But what are the long-term effects of that going to be? It's kind of a yin and a yang. If you're taking money away from the provincial government, then perhaps they're going to want it back in some other way. So it's going to take a lot to explore that. But there are opportunities downtown, perhaps areas that are currently open that we could renovate, like Rising Tide is doing. I think they're probably doing the best job in doing this with taking care of places that are currently available. As for new builds, with the cost of materials and everything else, it's going to be almost impossible to be able to get your money back on that with affordable housing. So this really is a huge conundrum. And I have to say, I don't have a solid answer for it, because if you just look at the price of plywood, it's gone up 3 times. I mean, for a developer to get their money back, you're going to have to give them a huge incentive. And can we afford that? Well, we might be able to afford that, I guess, if we stop things like the RCMP building and other large builds and say, okay, we need to shore up our base first, and let's stop spending on these capital projects and get our footing underneath us first.
Okay, thanks, Eric.
Thank you. The next question is on child poverty. Moncton has a rate of 28% at the moment. This rate is higher than the provincial and the Canadian. Provincial is 22% and Canadian or national is 18%. So what are your plans to support children living in poverty in the region? Dawn, you're first.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I think it's
I'm sorry.
Eric.
Eric, you're first. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's childhood poverty is a sad thing to see, and sometimes you can't. It's hard to know in what society, what area of town, what the reasons are behind this. But this is what I said before, that I think it's really important that we support youth programs like the Boys and Girls Club or Big Brothers Big Sisters. We need to kind of make people feel positive about the area that they're living in, so that they know that they're worth something, that they're worth a lot, and that they have value. And that will kind of help hopefully inspire them with, if we can combine them with mentors like you see through Big Brothers and Big Sisters, to see what they could be, to recognize their potential. But if there's an opportunity to fund, like I said, well, actually, when that money went to the UFC, I went to the Boys and Girls Club and said, what would you have done with that money? They said, well, we would have opened up a satellite office because there are other places in town that need that help. So these type of things, that the poverty is in all parts of the city, some more so than others, but we need to look at programming to help kids, to keep them after school active and moving forward and positive.
Thank you, Eric. Dawn, same question about poverty, child poverty in the region.
Thank you. Well, this is a huge preoccupation of mine and something that I'm actively working on. I was recently approached by some business leaders to lead up a poverty reduction campaign for children in particular in our community. How can we do better from a measurable perspective on this? I've worked really hard over the last 5 years to work particularly with our inner city schools with something called Moncton's Big Idea Contest. This is grade 4s. The conversations that we have and the empowerment that I see every day when I do this is incredible. They know that their voices are important and they will be engaged citizens. I'm already seeing that, the legacy of some of them that are now in grade 8, how they feel that their voices are important and that they will be part of the solution in our community. The rates are abysmal. We have to do better as a community, and we will. We're putting the plans in place. Additionally, we invest $1.387 million in different social programs, the Boys and Girls Club, the Salvage Clinic, the Reconnect, food banks as a city. And that's showing great leadership, I believe. Additionally, I'm working with Beaverbrook School, and we will be launching something very soon so that all people in our community, everyone can help us to do better. Thank you.
I'm going to pose another question here, and we're quickly running out of time. This may be the last from the audience. Is City Council transparent enough? What steps could be taken to improve transparency? Dawn, first up for you.
Well, that is a good one. I have been very dedicated to this. In fact, for 9 years, I have written on every single meeting that I have attended from a public perspective. I have advocated long and hard for things like attendance, expenses, code of conduct, activity reports, all of this sort of thing. And you will be able to find online every single activity report that I've written for every month for the last 5 years. This has been one of my goals over the last 9 years, was to let people know what is happening with council, why we make the decisions that we make. Can we do better? Absolutely. Absolutely, we can do better. But I do believe that on a personal level, I have certainly gone above and beyond what has ever happened at the city of Moncton before. Democracy is important. Is it perfect? No, but we need to have engaged citizens, people that know what's going on, that want to be part of finding the solutions and being, making sure that their voices are heard and that they can be part of the conversations.
Thank you, Dawn. Eric, over to you.
No, I don't think that council has been overly transparent. And it's very nice that a person can post what they said or happened at council, but not posting everything. For the past 5 years, I've been covering City Hall. For the past number of years, I've been doing a summary after each one. And the summary that I have and the summary that I see posted seem to be very different. What is missing is the nuance. There's a very clear divide currently with this council, and it's a numbers game as to who can win or what gets passed. And in doing so, you kind of lose the arguments or the discussion that has happened. When it comes to things like the loan to ASM Global, the questions that were asked by one of the counselors, it totally showed that it was just absolutely foolish. They had no real answer why that was going to happen or why that was going to move forward. Yet when the hands went up, the majority went up in favor of it. So if you read one report, it says that this passed. You think, oh, okay, no muss, no fuss. But if you heard and really paid attention to what the whole conversation is, you get a greatly different story. And that's something that I would like to make sure of the next council, is that the whole story is told.
Thank you, Eric. I think that is unfortunately all the time we have for questions, and there's so many good ones still out there. Questions on glyphosate, Francophone immigration, support to arts and culture, more questions on the double taxation. So we will package those up and send them to both Don and Eric and ask for their responses, and we'll post their responses on the Chamber website. That's it for debate. We will close off the session with a 1-minute closing statement by both candidates. As we mentioned off the top, we will give these in reverse order to the opening statements. So Eric, you will lead us off. 1 minute.
Moncton is a fantastic city, but we do have some major challenges, and there are issues with public safety, homelessness, vagrancy, struggling businesses, and a shifting work environment. But we will need a big tent approach to help solve all of these issues. We will need frontline agencies, developers, and business partners all working together. And we will need free thinkers to help maximize the potential opportunities ahead of us, particularly along the waterfront, as we plan for a successful future that everyone can enjoy. As a mayor, I hope to finally address these challenges head on and create the kind of community we'd all like to see. Thank you very much. On May 10th, I'd appreciate your support.
Thank you, Eric. Dawn, 1 minute.
Thanks to everyone who tuned in today. Merci à ceux qui ont suivi le débat aujourd'hui. Understanding the positions and perspectives of candidates is key to ensuring you choose the right person to lead our community forward. Thanks to the hundreds and hundreds of people I've spoken with over the last few weeks and months who have shared with me their joys and concerns about our amazing city. Monktonians I've spoken with are proud of what we've accomplished. Les citoyens de Moncton avec qui j'ai parlé sont fiers de ce que nous avons accompli. They are heartened at the way our community came together over the last 14 months. They are excited about the growth of our city, our strong fiscal position, and the growing number of opportunities that benefit every citizen. They're also concerned about the homelessness issue, growing crime, and balancing growth with the protection of our environment. Ce sont les questions complexes qui requièrent notre attention tous les jours. These are the complex issues that demand our attention every day. Addressing these challenges and helping to lead our community forward requires leadership that understands that there are no one solution answers to these complex and interconnected challenges. Our success didn't happen by accident, and solving these challenges won't either. Finally, I'm asking for your vote so that together we can keep Moncton moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid that's all the time we have. J'aimerais remercier Don Arnold et Eric Jingles d'avoir pris le temps aujourd'hui pour nous présenter leur vision pour Moncton. Thank you to both Don and Eric for joining us today and for sharing their visions for Moncton. Two excellent candidates. Remember, you can rewatch this debate on either Rogers TV, the Rogers website starting tonight, and on the Chamber's website starting tomorrow morning. Speaking of election day, please don't forget to vote. Traditionally, the turnout for municipal elections has been less than 40%. Of course, if you're engaged enough to watch the debate today, you will likely vote, but we urge you to tell your neighbors and friends. Thanks again to our candidates, Rogers, and you, our audience. For those of you who are joining us for the Riverview debate that starts at 1 p.m., feel free to leave your Zoom session open and we'll be back in about 10 to 15 minutes. Au nom de Sylvain et de toute l'équipe de la Chambre, je vous souhaite une excellente journée. On behalf of everyone at the Chamber, thanks for joining us. Thanks to the candidates and have a pleasant day. Bye for now.